What's up guys, here we are once again, and today we are going to be talking about something important. As you guys know, we are a few months away from the IMAT, so we from the IMAT Success Academy, we're going to be talking about some important dates you must know. So consider this as your ultimate checklist to get into medical school this year. So grab your pen, mark your calendar, and let's go. Alright guys, so as promised in this video, we're going to be talking about the full IMAT 2026 timeline. Believe when I say every year so many students lose their seats in a medical school just by not knowing some of these things. So let's check out what is this all about. Alright guys, so let's start from the beginning. The Italian Ministry of University and Research, also known as MUR, haven't yet released the official IMAT 2026 decree. So for that reason, consider this timeline as a reliable forecast, okay, that is based on 2024 and 2025 admission cycles. We're going to be talking about University procedures, University as being a very important website where you're going to do most of your bureaucratic steps, and we're also going to base ourselves on some historical patterns that we have seen throughout the years with the IMAT. So with that said, let's check out these important procedures you must be aware of. Alright guys, so the first thing you need to be aware of is basically this. If not now, when will this decree be released? Hopefully very soon. We're expecting to see something between May or July, so more likely July this year. This decree is updated every year with some extra information, so it's important to keep an eye on it. Last year, for example, 2025, the exam date was announced in May, so you already knew the deadline. You could organize yourself, your schedule, so it's good. But the full decree was only published in August, so with all the information, every detail, everything was a little bit later on. Now, it's important to say that nothing's really confirmed, officially confirmed, until this is out. And it's good to keep up to date with that because you don't want to be caught in any surprise. And basically, this document is going to contain a lot of important information, such as the IMAT exam and registration date, the available university and number of seats. This is very important as well. It often changes. Last year, for example, for Europeans, there was no seats available in the University of Catania. That was a surprise for all. Also, Europeans and non-Europeans seats, the distribution, the test structure and the ranking rules, and the test central worldwide. So some countries, they have more than one test centers, others just one. So it's important to also be aware about that because it's going to be the place you're going to take the test from. Now, once again, nothing's really confirmed until this decree is out. Some university, they even wait until this document is officially published so they can release their own protocol, their own information, their own call for admission. So you don't want to miss this out. It's important to be up to date with this. All right, so our next pit stop here is about the pre-enrollment on the website University. Now, it's important to say that the pre-enrollment is only mandatory for non-Europeans that don't live in Italy. If you're European, you don't have to go through this. But the University website is important for both. It's basically there where you're going to see your score. Also, you're going to catch up in the questions of the exam and also in your ranking. It is currently open. It's important to say you can already do the pre-enrollment. As for the previous year, it usually happens between May and July. So it's also important to catch up on the deadline. And you should see that as something that's going to help you. Okay, the pre-enrollment, it's going to make sure that you have all the documents, that you have the visa and everything, so you don't have any problems when it's actually the moment to enroll. So basically through this website, they're going to be able to connect you with the Italian embassy. They're going to help you with starting the crucial student visa process. They're also going to allow university to verify if you're eligible or not. And they're going to confirm that the student's first choice university. So that's where you're going to have to make that important decision of what is going to be your first choice of university. It's really important to say that if you're not in EU and you don't live in Italy and you don't go through this pre-enrollment process, you won't be able to enroll, even if you have a fantastic score in the IMAT. So you don't want to miss things here. It's important to keep an eye on this. Before we move to our next topic, I just want to say that we're planning to record a full video about the pre-enrollment process step by step to help you and guide you. So stay tuned on our YouTube channel because you don't want to miss that. Alright guys, so moving on to our third topic here, the IMAT registration period. This is what everyone is waiting for. Now, the expecting time is going to be late August, early September. Okay, so historically, based on the previous edition of the IMAT, it usually opens around the last week of August and it closes on more or less the second week of September. So keep your documents tight because it's very soon. Now, as you guys might know, the registration will take place in the website University, so it's important to say that you cannot register with directly with the university. That is not possible like it usually happen in different countries. And basically throughout the registration, the information you're going to have to fill in, it's going to be the test center, so you're going to have to choose it, rank the university if you're a European student, upload any language certificate if you have, and obviously pay the IMAT fee. Alright, so something that I wanted to call your attention, and I made sure to highlight this in just one slide, is the differences between the European and non-European preferences. So I mentioned that if you're European, organizing and ranking your universities in the university website is something important. And the reason for that is that you can scroll through multiple universities, okay, depending on your preferences. If you didn't score enough to get into your first choice, you can still get into another university. Let's say that your score is good enough to get into your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth university preferences. You can still choose to get into there. Now, is it mandatory for you to get there? No, you can still wait and see if there will be any opening in your main choice of university. On the other hand, if you're a non-European applicant, only your first choice will matter. And it's really important that your first choice matches with the exact university that you choose in your pre-enrollment step. Alright guys, so this is where things start getting serious, the IMAT examination, okay, the moment of truth. So the expecting timing for that is the mid-September 2026. Okay, so most likely around the second or the third week of September. The last 2 years, 2024 and 2025, it wasn't the exact same day, the 17th of September. So I wouldn't be surprised if I also see this year being the 17th of September. It is crazy how short the window between registration and examination is. This is a very important moment for all students, and a lot of students will be taking this exam for the first time. So it's normal to be nervous and a little bit anxious. But if you're well prepared, this is going to give you confidence, and I'm sure this confidence will help you a lot in your final score. So preparation here is the key. Alright guys, so moving on to our next topic here, results publication. So basically I organize a timeline here with the main events of the exam, starting with the IMAT exam day. So you guys know that's probably going to take place in the mid-September. So we're talking about the 15th, the 16th, the 17th of September. And very likely in the same month, we're going to have something that we call the anonymous result. Okay, so later that month, they will release, but probably in the end of September, a long file of information of students' scores without identifying them. So the only information you're going to have there is going to be their candidate code. Okay, so you're going to be able to see more or less how the students they perform in the exam, and that can give you an estimation of how hard it was, if it was harder than last year or easier based on also in the anonymous results of the previous year. So something that happens very often is that some students, they try to memorize the candidate code that is given to them at the IMAT day, because later on they could go through these files whenever they're published and try to identify them and have access to their score a little bit earlier than the normal. But the official date where you have access to your score, not only your score but also your answer sheet and the official correct answers, it's going to be early October. So that means that you're probably going to have to wait a little bit longer to have this information. But once you have it, things start getting a little bit more clear of how the exam went or how did you do on that exam. Other than that, at the end and mid of October, you're going to have the national ranking. So this is one of the most important parts in the moment that everyone is waiting for. And it takes so long if you think about it, but it's actually quite quick. Let's talk a little bit more about this, because this I think it deserves a lot of attention. So about the national ranking, this is probably going to be released in the middle of October. Last year, for example, this piece of information was released in the October 13th, and this is one of the most important stage for every student. So there's basically three main statuses you can have in the national ranking. The first one is a sign. Okay, that is great news. You got into your first choice. It's important for you to enroll as quick as possible so you don't lose that seat. Secondly, you can be in a situation of booked. So that means that your score was good enough to get into your second, third, or fourth, or fifth option, but it was not good enough to get into your first option. Now, there's a couple things you can do. The first thing is to accept temporarily and to enroll into whatever university you got in, or you could wait for upward movements in the future rounds. So maybe it will be available, your first option will have available seats for you to enroll in the future, so you could decide to wait. And finally, the waiting status. So there's no seats available for you on your first option or your second option at all. But your score is good enough to keep waiting, so you can continue participating in the future rounds. But the most important thing here is that you must regularly confirm your interest to stay in the ranking. So the ranking update every week, mostly. And every week you need to confirm your interest, even if you didn't get into any university. That, of course, if you still want to participate in the scrolling. So let's talk a little bit about this. Alright guys, so moving on to our 8th topic here, the scrolling process. Now this is something very interesting about the Italian system, and basically the way it works is that eventually some students will decline their seats for some reason, and that will make them available. So what's going to happen is that the ranking will scroll downwards, and if you didn't have a seat before, you might have a chance now. But the important things you have to keep in mind here is that what you're going to have to do is, first of all, confirm your interest, like what we were talking just before. If you're in a situation of waiting, you didn't get into any university, but you still can apply, you should always confirm your interest. This is really important. Also, keep an eye on the university website, okay? Monitor that. That has to become your favorite social media, okay? Always keep an eye on the website. And of course, if you're assigned, enroll immediately. That is going to be really important. A lot of students fail or just forget to confirm their interest in the waiting list. And once that happens, they are removed from the list. They cannot confirm anymore, and there's no way back. Alright guys, so we're moving towards the end. Let's talk about the last 2 things you need to know, okay? First of all, when will the classes start? That will really depend, okay? Usually October or November 2026, but it's really going to depend on the university schedule, okay? Some of them start on mid-October, others will start early November. So keep an eye on the university you chose and the schedule they have for this year. Other than that, don't forget that there will be some students that will start a little bit later this semester because of the scrolling. That happens very often. And for those students, you guys are going to have to catch up on the classes with other students, okay? Materials and anything that you lost. Other than that, final admission rounds, okay? So when will the scrolling end? That also really depends, but we could predict something from December 2026 to January 2027. So we're talking about almost the end of the semester. So don't be surprised with that. That can happen very often. And also, that's a reason for you to not lose hope, whatever score you have. You always have a chance, okay? We'll keep scrolling, and you can't forget to keep confirming your interest. Basically, what orientates that is going to be if there's any available seats or not, okay? Whenever there's no available seats, this beautiful cycle of admission will close and there will be no more chances to get in. Alright guys, so this was our video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to leave it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you're preparing for the IMAT 2026, I just want to say, don't leave your future just to chance. Here at the IMAT Success Academy, we help students with the right strategy, high yield materials, expert guidance, and a preparation plan designed for the IMAT. And you guys know that passing the exam is only part of the journey. From university registration, pre-enrollment, scrolling rounds, Italian bureaucracy, our IMAT experts will guide you step by step through the whole admission process from the IMAT. And if this video helped you understand the IMAT 2026 timeline, make sure to check out our website and our Instagram page linked below for the latest updates, study tips, and advices about studying medicine here in Italy. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out through any of our platforms or just leave it a comment. We will be posting IMAT updates, guide, and preparation content throughout the year, so you probably don't want to miss that out. And with that said, I'll be seeing you guys in the next one.